Well, first of all, thank you for doing this. I've been a big fan of yours for a while now. I found your YouTube channel like a few years ago, and I've just been following you ever since. But first of all, for people discovering you and your work, how how would you describe yourself in your own words?
Yeah, I would say a creative, like photographer, videographer of a lot of brands, but washed up collegiate runner. No, not really, but yeah, I ran a year at NYU last year after going to Newbury Park. Yeah, I guess ran at a high level and then realized that like the sport necessarily wasn't for me. Um, and I didn't really see that being like my career path, and I thought being creative was a lot more fulfilling. So, yeah, I guess ex collegiate runner and now just yeah, creative that works in the running space, but also yeah, just like with pro athletes from around the world. So.
Okay. Um, recently you've been doing work with running, surfing, travel, and overall like a lifestyle kind of photography content. What
Yeah.
draws you to stories centered around movement and the outdoors?
Yeah, I think I'm just like always been inspired by the ocean. Not, I grew up in Virginia, pretty far inland, and so never really having access to the ocean or beach. When I moved to California to go run at Newbury Park, it was just something that, yeah, I feel like I took a lot of inspiration from. I think a lot of people that are in this like line of work, like creatively, whether it's photo, video, directing, editing, there's something about just like the yeah, like the ocean or like the certain culture that's around like LA or just being by the beach or yeah, wherever that might be. And so um, love traveling, and I think it just influences a lot of my work. And that yeah, whenever I go places, it's typically whether that's LA or Australia or wherever that might be around the world. There's always um, kind of just been like this liking to the coastal, I guess, vibe in a sense. And so, yeah, it's kind of influenced a lot more work around the surf scene, but I don't necessarily think that it like ties into my running work. I think there's like fluid in motion, but um, yeah, I think they're kind of like two separate paths. So I'm trying to like work together on being able to tell a story of more pro surfers, but also working with like pro athletes here in Boulder. Um, I think there's like somewhere where I can mesh the two. So
Yeah. Recently you did you documented OAC training camp in Phoenix with On.
yeah.
Um, Capturing some of the fastest runners in the world. What experience is that like? What's the experience like that behind the scenes?
Yeah, no, it's super cool. Like I looked up to a lot of these guys for a while, and now to like be, I guess, like working directly in the circle with them is super cool. Like I worked the past year with Sam Parsons, who is one of the founders of Team Man Elite, and yeah, he got me out here to Boulder. Ended up taking a bit longer of a gap year, and now I'm just yeah, fully going all in on this creative work with On, at least for the next 6 months, and then hopefully longer than that, just in terms of contracts. So yeah, it's super cool. I mean, you realize that like everyone with these guys just works insanely hard, and they just keep their head down, and yeah, it's super cool to witness, seeing like what we see on the outside being Olympic medals, and seeing that it's really just in the small things, whether it's the diet, you know, doing daily doubles, or yeah, just those little things that make them, put them on the next level. But no, it's definitely super cool. So
Yeah. You also recently shot a documentary for Leadville 100. Well, the premiere just came out a few weeks ago, I think. And
yeah,
how does your approach change when storytelling through film instead of photos?
yeah, I would say like I have like a liking for both. I know a lot of guys. Like big mentor to me is Joe Hale. He's a big New York City photographer, kind of like an OG in the sport of running and documenting that. And he only does photo. And a big piece of advice from him to me was just like really like focus in on what you want to be telling, what you want to be shooting. Because if you're too broad, it can often get diluted, or your work might not be as great. And so I try, focusing on both, but also knowing that like you can't be a jack of all trades, And so when it comes to shooting both, I think, yeah, I really love the aspect of being able to document people through video. I think there's a lot more emotion that can be, portrayed, and especially with like the audio and the music and what they might say in an interview or whatever that might be, versus photo. But it's obviously, I think video is a lot harder, and to some people it comes naturally. But I think for me, it's definitely not something that I like have naturally found to be easy to tell. And so for this Leadville documentary, it was several weeks of trying to edit a 40-minute piece together with some interviews of friends sitting down after the race and before the race. And that was my first like feature, like I guess, longer than like a YouTube video per se. And so it's definitely fun. Like that's the stuff that's super impactful. Getting friends and family together. We rented out a theater in Austin and got to have a film premiere, which is definitely meaningful. You like walk out away from that with like knowing that you made an impact. Having people message you or meet you in person or say that like it changed them in some way. And so, yeah, I think going forward, I really want to be doing and leaning into a lot more of those longer form pieces, not just so much the social Instagram, TikTok kind of stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with like Conor Mantz and the work he's been putting out, but he has a really good long form documentary that they just released, and it's crushing. And I think it's proof of concept that like people are willing to watch an hour and a half, film in terms of like the running scene, just because people are craving, I feel like a deeper connection. And yeah, it's just like the long form stuff is a lot more fun in my eyes, but definitely takes a lot more work. So
Yeah. So you would say you're more drawn to like video instead of photography?
yeah, I think maybe not more drawn, but I like it more when the product comes out the way I'm thinking, I guess, in my head. So
Yeah. A lot of your work feels very cinematic, like the buzzword cinematic and intentional, especially when you shoot in formats like Super 8 or just your regular old camera. What attracts you to that filmish style?
yeah, I think I often like go back and forth in my head on like, am I creating the thing that um, I view as cinematic? Maybe it's like, yeah, like you're saying, like Super 8 or shooting on film or video. And I I often like question if I do have like the style I built per se. But yeah, what was your question? Is like,
What
what else
attracts
could
you
you
to
do?
that like cinematic style?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think a lot going back to like what you asked earlier is just like the ocean. Like I think, like living here in Boulder, you have the mountains to work with, and it's like a great environment between like skiing and snowboarding and mountain biking and cycling and running. And so it's a lot of motion and activities. But I think the big influence for the shooting style is just, I would say, like nature and kind of having that like hardworking and free flowing movement. And um, it's fun when you live in a place like Boulder and travel a lot to LA for work. And so it's, two super fun cities to be working in, and kind of different climates, but they kind of help shape the stories, that I love telling. So.
How would you say you've been on this journey for what it quite seems for a bit now, and have you seen what you would call success in it?
No, I don't really know like what success looks like. I know there's things I want to do, right? Like tell more long form documentaries, and now I'm getting to work with on Athletics Club, and so that's kind of been like a goal of mine for a while. So maybe that is like not the peak, but there's small things along the way. Like even moving out here to Boulder, that was a kind of a lifelong dream, and so I would say there's like success in the journey I've had, but the ultimate goal, I don't know necessarily what that might look like. I think just telling stories like this, but on a larger scale, following around athletes worldwide. Big fan of like Jimmy Chin's work. He's the director and DP of Free Solo, and I think kind of like those pieces where you're following around freak athletes, but you also have to be an athlete yourself to be able to get yourself into those scenarios. It's just like what I love, and if that's surfing, if it's running, if it's cycling, whatever that looks like, I think, I'm there for it, and we'll see how the future kind of pans out with that. So.
You've worked with brands like On and Adidas and Tracksmith. What makes your brand collaboration feel successful for you creatively?
Yeah, I think a successful collaboration, like walking away, obviously, like the client would have to be happy with the end result and the product they're getting. And I kind of feel like you can always understand that, right? Like I just worked with Sam and Tracksmith for the past year, and we told some really fun stories and weekly, YouTube videos. And so I think that was a success. Maybe not on paper. We didn't get 100,000 subscribers or anything like that, but there was still some we were getting weekly comments, weekly messages, DMs, from people all around the world that were feeling impacted. And so I think that's the goal that I would hope to portray, is that if there's a story we can tell, whether it's me with Adidas or whatever that is, after just coming back from the LA Marathon this past weekend, it was super fun experience, and met a lot of cool people, and just the emotion kind of came out through the marathon. And so I think a successful story from the client's perspective is if they can really get the viewer or whoever that might be excited about a product, or just having a good time, I guess.
Speaking of your Los Angeles Marathon shoot, that was with Cadence and Adidas, right? With them.
Yeah, it was Adidas, and then Usal's the storefront we hosted in. But yeah, it was with Adidas, Satellite. And Cadence had a sponsored run. So
yeah. How was that experience?
It was great. Yeah, I had never been to LA for the marathon, so that was a fun first. I've done a couple of the other major Chicago and New York marathons, so to get out to the West Coast for work is always fun. I love it there, and what Cadence is building is super cool. The founder Ross and all the team they've kind of built up and developed is super hardworking, and I feel like they have a really successful product. So it's just really about scaling it, and and Adidas has always been doing great stuff. I think they kind of have gone through a little lull period in terms of pushing the sport. I mean, every brand has had their moments of being super successful or being super out there, and obviously I think Adidas is now kind of back on the playing field, releasing some super great shoes, and some cool pop-up events around LA for sure.
Mm-hmm. So now back to your work. Your photos seem more natural and observational, almost like the viewer is sort of present and in the moment, like what you're watching it or something. Is that intentional in how you shoot it?
Yeah, I think if there's any way, like I said, going back to the earlier question of what's a successful story from a brand, I think it really comes down to, putting yourself in the viewer's seat and really being able to immerse yourself, whether that's short form videos or long form, just being able to walk away with something. And so, I think that immersive experience where, the viewer walks away feeling something is ideally the best. So kind of shoot with that in mind, thinking, how can I get you or I to kind of sit behind the screen and really walk away feeling impacted.
When you're starting a new project, what is your plan to take it on?
Not huge in pre-production. I haven't really done too much, too many big projects. So it's kind of all been a one-man band. So a lot of pre-production work hasn't really started for me on much, but for instance, this Adidas thing, it was a decently big team. We probably had 7 or 8 of us. And that's producers and editors and stuff. And so, that all comes together when you just, talk before the shoot and what the brand wants. But a lot of the stuff in Boulder has kind of been just independently filmed or with one other person. So, not a lot of pre-production stuff. But the goal is to, again, kind of shooting longer form stuff. That obviously comes with having a big built-up team. And so, I think it'd be great to kind of learn the higher, roles within the creative field. But for right now, I feel like it's pretty small. So.
For someone who wants to get into sports photography and or filmmaking, what is one piece of advice that you'd give them?
Yeah, I would say just get your reps in. That's been the biggest thing for me. I remember always wanting to shoot track workouts, or whether I was NCAA championships or whatever. I was always, I lived in Virginia, but I would drive down to Raleigh, get my mom to drive me down and sneak into some of these track meets. And, you get enough reps in and eventually people recognize who you are, or, like the work you put and share for them. And so, yeah, I would say do a lot of work for free at the start, just to kind of get your name out there and get a good workflow. And by no means do I think I'm like where I want to be. Like I look up to a lot of people, even just here in Boulder, and they're leagues ahead of where I want to be. But it's about just being a good person, and I think kind of keeping your head down and just working hard. And so I feel like that's gotten me to this point. And so if I could just keep doing that and keep growing as a creative, it's only up from here. So
Now, here's the last question. Looking ahead, what kind of stories or projects are you most excited to explore next?
yeah, I mean, I'm working for the next 6 months with our pro athletes here. So I think it gives me a unique opportunity to really kind of dive into being really creative. Like I think I have the opportunity to kind of play it safe and just create work that gets shared, and then there's work that can really be told in a different light. And I'm good friends with the creative director at Cadence, and they've really leaned into doing some cool work, whether it's shooting on film, like long form, or doing some commercials. So I think he and I were chatting this past week in LA, and he's like, you have a super unique opportunity with the best athletes in the world to really work, hand in hand on telling those stories. And so, I don't want to walk away from these next 6 months feeling like I wasted it. And so, whether that's through On or other brands, do freelance work, I think there's, definitely cool opportunities where, you only get one chance at this per se. And so you can really make a lasting impact. I think that's the coolest part. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for doing this again. The full interview should be live on Saturday at 9 a.m. on Substack. So if you want to go check it out, it's going to be there.
Awesome.
So,
Heck yeah.
yeah. Thank you so
Sweet.
much.
Well, so what are you? So you're running like newsletters, or you're meeting with founders, or?
Right now, I just started. Well, I kind of rebranded what my newsletter was about. It was sort of a little blog about what I was doing every week, and now it's sort of evolved into this like cultural mesh of like how brands are like evolving the community around running in sort of that sense. Yeah. And then right now for me for running, I just hit a recent roadblock with sickness. So I'm trying to get back up from that.
Yeah.
And it's my freshman year of track right now. So.
No way. Dang, well, it seems like you're killing it doing big things. I remember my freshman year, like 6 years ago. So, definitely take advantage. And are you trying to run in college?
I hope so. I'm not sure. I don't think I can put like a label on that right now, but I'll see how that goes. And then, I've recently been also inspired by like people like you and like Alex, who you were talking about, and like Justin Sorson or something like that, who and I've gotten more into like videography and photography and all of that fun stuff, and I've been wanting to do it more, and I've been wanting to interview people like you who I get a bunch of inspiration from. And speaking of Alex, I actually have an interview with him, I think sometime this week. So
no way.
Yeah.
Dang, you're shooting out those DMs. Good to hear.
Yeah, I've been shooting out like, I would say like 20 to 40 a week or something like that.
No way. Yeah. Well, sorry it took so long. I was like all over the place in the time zone. I'm constantly like flying, whether it's here, California, whatever. And I felt like I was never able to line it up. So glad we were able to hop on this.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you again.
Yeah, for sure. Do you do all like written work, or do you do any video work?
I mainly just, written work, I would say I do it once a week, but like, and twice a week if I have an interview. But I mostly do video work. I would say like I post around three-ish times a week. Yeah. And then in December I did this like content series for like a month, but
nice. So we'll keep grinding it out. I'm sure you're going places. That's the goal. So
well, thank you again.
So all right, talk to you later, Hunter.
Bye. Thank you.
See you.